Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast. Free popsicles. Free popsicles. I've been driving by this sign on the highway. Have you seen this?
No,
free
I have
popsicle
not.
sign at the dealership. Free popsicles.
What dealership?
It's that Go Auto one.
Go Auto. Like on 97 there?
Yeah. Used to be
Well,
Hyundai.
I'll tell you one thing. If there's snow warnings and it's below zero, I think you should be giving out free popsicles no matter what.
Mm-hmm. What I'm thinking though, like I keep seeing this sign and like it takes every fiber of my being to not go in and ask for a free popsicle. I mean, it's a free popsicle.
I think you should just do it.
The marketing itself has just pulled me in. Like I can't help myself. So I feel like we need, and I called this KuzmenkOMG, but I feel we should call this one free popsicles because you can't help but click on the show. You're like, I mean, are they giving away free pops? I gotta know.
I think we should go on a fact-finding mission, I think is what probably should happen.
Yeah. And the root beer ones would be great, but I know I can't get those. I've asked. And they're tough.
Like not at the place though.
No. Hey, I know they're free. Do you have these ones? What?
Yeah, like I'm looking for a root beer popsicle.
Yeah. Can you make that happen? Like, dude, we have orange and pink. Okay. I mean, that's fine. It's free, I guess. Do you want a card? No, I just want a popsicle.
So favorite, do you have a favorite freezy color? You know, like the jumbo freezies?
Favorite freezy. I mean, it's a toss-up between blue and white.
Yeah. I think I'm purple and white, but white, I think in the beginning, I thought that was like a really underrated flavor. Like you'd just be like a kid and they were giving out popsicles and everybody would be clamoring for like red, yellow, purple, blue. And I'd be like, I want the white one.
Yeah. Now
it's like as grown-ups, white is where it's at.
So in our family growing up, like the white was, this sounds super racist, but the white was the elite freezy. Don't mind me. Don't mind me for the edgy part of the show. The white freezy was like the one we all pined to get. The blue is there. I think blue is. I mean, red's always a fan favorite.
What is the flavor of the white one?
It's like
Is it like white Gatorade or clear Gatorade?
Something, yeah, like prior to white Gatorade existing, clear. Mm-hmm. I would like it almost had like not a cola taste. That's the wrong word, but it had its own category. It's almost like a taste that
if you think it tastes like cola, I think your taste buds are a little bit broken.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think someone needs to let us. Maybe we should Google this throughout the show. Figure out what flavor is white jumbo freezy. What flavor? This is the PP1 Podcast. If you guys are following along in the intro video, that's my favorite part because it tells you where we're at, who we are. We're on Crier Media, and things are changing. Big conference call yesterday. It's a good time. Lots of changes going on. It's been a very slow burn to get where we'd like to be. Obviously, with the Crier Media thing, that is the new part, formerly Dean Blundell Network. We will hopefully have a few big surprises in the coming months that I've been teasing, and mainly because I didn't have all the information yet. So big things are coming. I do promise we're going to have more content out, even if it's this content, but you're going to see it in different ways. Maybe we'll do it upside down. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a backtrack or something. Maybe we'll be sponsored. Who knows? If you want to sponsor us, by all means, please hit me up in the DMs, or heck, send me an email. It's out there. As I said, that we're PP1 Podcast. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube Live right now. Comment along on both of those. We are also on Twitter. We gave up on MySpace. I don't know how to work that. I'm still just following like Semisonic. Just keep playing those songs over and over on their MySpace page, and I just can't get past that. So,
Semisonic. There you go.
Yeah. Did you have that album when we were buying CDs?
No, I don't think I had the Semisonic album, but I think it was on like one of those mix.
Oh, like Now music,
like a Now or I don't think it was a Big Shiny Tunes, but one of those types.
I mean, it was. I think it was on there. Did you have the Savage Garden CD, the orange one?
Is that the one with like Chica Cherry Cola?
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, I didn't have that one, but Christy had that one.
Okay, so you, as a family, you probably still own it. It's in a box in the basement.
No, so we did a big purge on all our CDs the last little while.
No kidding.
Got rid of almost everything. Well, once we didn't have an actual CD player for like 8 years, we thought it was time. But I did give them all to my mom, who still listens to CDs.
And they're musical. They're a musical family, so they probably just have like backtracks going on their new songs that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's a good son. What a good son you are.
Well, there's no skin off my back, and they seem pretty happy with it. So
hey, you know what? Everybody's happy. So we're going to talk about Canucks. We're going to talk about, I mean, we may bring up the popsicles thing. I'm going to have to probably, while you're on like some kind of a long-winded rant, I'll make sure that I get the right flavor for the white freezy. Wink. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you have no idea about superheroes, mainly Mega Man and Astro Boy. We're going to talk about
also not superheroes.
Okay, so we're going to debate a few things tonight. And I want to talk about Nolan Ryan and how freaking amazing he was. Have you seen that documentary on Netflix?
I'm about halfway through it.
Dude, it is. I mean, there's no surprises. We all do know how it ends for Mr.
Yeah, the last pitch he threw with like a destroyed arm was still like in the mid 90s.
Yeah, he pitched his 7th no-hitter when he was 44. And that day he was going to go tell, I think it was Bobby Valentine, that he was going to retire because his back was just out of it. He was like just a mess. Ended up throwing a no-hitter that same day. Life works in mysterious ways. It really does.
That's one of like the epic sports records that just will never get broken.
And absolutely. I mean, if let's stick on it for a second.
Sure.
We were talking about this at work today. So when he hit 5,000 strikeouts, they interviewed him. They said, "Well, what's going to happen when you hit 6,000?" He's like, "I don't think I'll be around." He finished with just over 5,700 strikeouts. He probably could have done it in a season or two had he played 46 years, which would have been wild. So you think about that, and you know what it takes to go through an entire batter, right? As far as a strikeout would go, it's usually not 3 pitches. On average, you're probably at least 5 to 6. That would be an average, maybe 5, 6. So imagine, I mean, he's going to definitely have some, 1, 2, 3s and K a guy. 5,700 plus strikeouts
it's insane
at 5 plus pitches. Like, how is your arm not just like? How does your arm even work that way? It boggles the mind. And the fact that he was doing it, like how old are you? You're 42, right? You turned 42 this year?
I turned 42 in October.
Yeah. That's messed up. So imagine 2 years from now, you're achieving elite things athletically. And people are like, wow.
So he was 5th in innings pitched with 5,386. He played for 27 seasons. Who on earth had more innings than Nolan Ryan as a starting pitcher? That is crazy.
Cream soda. White was the cream soda flavor. That's what they're saying.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. We just associate with pink, but
yeah, they probably wanted to throw a quick one at us. Yeah, no, it's absolutely wild. We all like these athletic stories. Like, I mean, what Tom Brady was able to do and how they've covered that, I think is pretty cool, man, in the arena. Nolan Ryan is just something else. He's always been a favorite of mine. I've got a t-shirt with his baseball card on it. I think he's super cool. I do obviously share a name, and every time I see like Ryan Express or something like that, it makes me laugh. And, pretty awesome. Way to go, Nolan Ryan. Way to be super cool, and way to be papa to your grandkids. So, yeah. And, speaking of baseball, I think this is like the 5th week in a row you've sent me a DM. I'm like, oh, what did he sent me something cool? It's just another video of a teammate stealing a baseball in the outfield from the proper person to be catching that ball. It's like this epic long game troll that you've got on me here. I don't know how many more videos exist of these things, but I have a feeling it's not ending anytime soon.
Well, I think in fairness, you started it. Did you not?
I didn't start anything. You stole the ball from me.
No, I mean, like, you started it because you didn't call for it. But this particular video was pretty funny because the guy, I don't know who it was, basically was just standing there the whole time and didn't even attempt to take his hands off the hips,
He just watched.
knowing that it was going to get stolen. So that was pretty great.
I mean, that's friendship when you already know what's about to happen. I think that's pretty cool. So it made me laugh.
It's just continuity. That's all that is. I think if the Canucks had that level of trust and continuity with each other, we'd be a better hockey team.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? I mean, you know who they do trust? They do trust Kuzmenko. You saw the goal last night.
Oh, I saw the non-goal.
The non-goal. Sorry, it might.
I saw the filthy assist.
That's what you do in like NHL 04 when you're just dumbing your friend. That, like, that's when you could first pull off a move like that, and you just did it because you could. You know, the backup move, and then he just like switches, absolutely undresses him, goes top shelf off the like. Come on. They should have just said, no, we're going to call that a goal. That was just, people can't do that in real life.
Thank God Garland was there with his mini stick to at least finish that play off. But that was like ridiculous. The amount of the hands that are involved with that, the edge work, the backwards skating, dangle, like it was just, and then to go roof like with inside of a foot was just also crazy. But I don't know, man. That was some. I think you can put up with the running around a little bit in the defensive zone, because of the things that he does, right? I mean, and then buries a nice shot a little later in the game too. So yeah, ridiculously good hands. He's
at what, 23 goals already this season?
I want to say,
or is it 26?
I want to say it's more than that. I'll check.
Yeah, we all wanted him to get traded. Just because we're in, this guy
who doesn't like first round draft picks. Yeah.
Well, exactly.
23 goals, 24 assists, 47 points.
Not a bad pickup for free. Like making league minimum. And he's just shredding every time. Not every time he's on the ice, but he's a lot of fun to watch. And I think, and this was something I wanted to bring up to you. I didn't put this on the rundown. So this is the year where hopefully they just absolutely blow up, do whatever they're going to do, whether it's in season, off season, leading up to the draft. Do you see that this is the only season that we have to endure basically the pain? You think there has to be a lot more pain after this?
Not a lot more, but it's going to take at least 2 seasons. How do they fix that decor?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, but I mean, there's too many big contracts still on the book, right? I mean,
I just think. Go ahead. I was just gonna say. I think it's just more maybe where I'm coming from is like the breaking down. So like, are we going to be okay with them starting to add things, if however that needs to happen, in the way we're all hoping it happens anyway? Like, is this basically like this is the year that we're hoping to hit rock bottom? And do we want to be staying at rock bottom, or what's the mentality with the fan base? What's with the team? Like, are they going to try to part it all out and make all the big decisions, and hopefully they all get done, and then we start refiguring everything out? Like, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think that's the plan. That's what they want to do. Like, when you say, I hope it's what we're hoping all happens. Like, what do you hope happens in this season and heading into next year? Do you think that next offseason they should be adding, veteran bodies to sort of complement this club? Or do you think that they should be continuing to try to free up cap space?
I think they still need to free up cap space. I'm not saying start rebuilding and putting in the long-term pieces in place unless they're super young or draft picks. But I think I'm just trying to think, you know what this season is already. It's an absolute lost cause. And they're realizing that they've brought in a coach in Rick Tocchet that clearly is taking things back to basics, which is, I love that. It's great. It's very humbling, I think. And I now look at this team and think, okay, our absolute worst / best case scenario is that they do finish last, get the lottery pick, and get Bedard. Maybe they don't get him, but they get second or they get third. So then you start building, and again, hopefully they add a few extra draft picks in that. So we go into next season with a new looking roster? Is it going to be more AHL guys? Are they going to bring in McDonough? Are they going to be bringing in, maybe some mid-tier guys via trade with the guys they've got currently? Like, what are we going to be okay with? Are we assuming it's going to be a more exciting version of what this year is, but the same results or close? Or what's the expectation in year one after?
I think this is, I don't know. I think regardless of what way you slice this, it's gonna take multiple seasons. And I think we're not even through this season, right? We still have trade deadline. We still have the off season, right? I mean, the NHL draft is going to be a hotbed for more possible trades. I think there's lots of GMs that might feel more comfortable knowing that one more year is off the books with a guy versus, trading for him mid-season and having to figure out your cap space for a playoff run, right? So,
right.
But there's a lot of money committed for next year, like a significant amount of money committed for next year. Yeah. JT Miller goes up to $8 mil next year. Yeah. And there's a lot of money sitting on your wings. Obviously, PD is 7.3 as a center, but you have Connor Garland's at almost $5 mil. You have Anthony Beauvillier is a shade over 4, which they don't all sound like crazy contracts. But when you start pairing, another one, Kuzmenko 5.5. You go a little further down the list, you got another year of Tyler Myers at 6. Not to mention Hughes is still sitting at 7.8. Then you got OEL sitting at 7.2. Like another Demko deal sitting at 5. You probably still have Pearson sitting there, depending on where he is from an injury replacement. Yeah. Sitting at 3, you're going to have to look at re-upping Ethan Bear, who's currently at 1.8. But what's he going to command? Maybe 2.5.
I don't think he moves the needle too much. I think you can keep him affordable.
No, I think you can too, but you're also going to have to pay, Travis Dermott, who makes 1.5. But like, it doesn't sound like that much money when you have like, say Ethan Bear gets 2 and then Travis Dermott gets 1.8. All of a sudden you're at 3. That's another $3.8 million that you got to commit. And you're still looking at a guy like Riley Stillman. Like, what are they going to do with Stillman? Right. That's another 1.3. So it's sort of we're sort of back to this death by 1,000 cuts thing that needs to go away. So I don't know where they're going to make. I think the main area that they're going to be able to make moves is, or the main area that they need to look at clearing spaces on their decor, but I don't know how they do that, right? I mean, when you have 3 defenders making over 7 mil or over 6 mil, and one of them only contributes to your bottom pairing in Tyler Myers, like that has to be fixed, right? So I think there is a couple of guys, Myers being one of them, who is, going to come off the books next year, whether he's traded or not. That starts to add more flexibility. I know Bo's gone, like that's a big piece of it, but I think they need to continue to go, like stay the course. I think, this team is going to lose with players like Phil DiGiuseppe and Sheldon Dries playing, on important minutes on this club. And I think for now, that's okay. Right? I mean, I'd rather see Dries and DiGiuseppe, whose game I don't hate, if I'm being completely honest.
But this is how a rebuild happens, though.
Yeah, he can play in my bottom 6.
The fancy pieces. It's like every time I go into a house and if for like a renovation, people are like, "Oh, it's a real mess." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's a renovation." Like nobody has like.
It's not supposed to be finished. It's supposed to be functional. You know what I mean?
No like crystal chandeliers when you've got walls torn open, and
That's why we don't. Yeah, that's why we don't work on the bathroom and the kitchen at the same time. Like you got to have one of these things function for your sanity, right? So
yeah,
they need to continue. They need to continue to sort of invest themselves in developing players like, the Nils Almonds of the world and Dakota Joshua, who had a heck of a game last night, and find out what you have in a Studnicka. And I think you're just going to have to go by one more year at the very least before some big stuff comes off the contracts. And for the love of God, figure out what you're going to do with OEL, because he borderline can't play at this level anymore. He's signed through to 2026, 2027. I can't believe anybody even said
that's only 4 more years.
I can't believe anybody even said that this was a good deal when it happened. Like,
it's cringing. It's cringeworthy we've talked about this. They were that close, and as I joked, like they just gave the recapture a new name. Is basically what it was.
and to be able to, they could have just sat one more season with Eriksson. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to make this move, right? And I mean, I remember everybody saying,
it was a feel-good move because of how, like, what happened, but realistically, as an organization, and again, there was going to, it was going to hit the fan at some point. But had they held on that one more move, I mean, it's not like it would have bought Benning and Weisbrod any more time, but that move might have been one of those things like, hey, well, at least as bad as it was, this happened.
Well, I remember because we were saying, like, okay, look, the roster in the immediate future is going to be better, right? I mean, you got yourself a Connor Garland who was able to help you out. He's a solid 5-on-5 player. The defense will clearly be better with a guy like OEL sitting in it for a couple of seasons. Here we are a couple of seasons later, and now he's at the point where he just can't play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, a couple of seasons not worth it for $7.26 million off your cap. Like, that's just, you're giving it away. Can't do anything with that. So,
and
I mean,
had they been patient, they had $12 million. So you would have $12 million. You would have had, I mean, let's joke about it. They would have had Miller and Bo.
Well, that's the thing, right? Everybody talks about the fact that they chose Miller over Bo, but I mean, if they don't make this deal for OEL, then it's a non-factor.
Yep.
It's all hindsight, but whatever.
Sure.
But I guess the point that I'm getting at is, even if Ryan, like, in a weird world, even if they wanted to start signing veterans to start augmenting this team and start supporting guys like Pettersson and Hughes, they can't. Like, there's just no room to be able to do that, right? So they have to continue to work to clear cap space. If cap space gets cleared at the trade deadline, phenomenal. If it happens at the draft, that's also great.
Phenomenal cosmic power.
But you can't be like, I just cleared up $5 million in cap space and then quickly go out and sign a $5 million player. You can't do that.
No.
You got to make room for signing for the stuff and the guys down the road that are clearly going to be worth it, right? Because this is not the way to do it. And I think I'm hoping that this regime recognizes that. But it's going to be at least one more tough year past this. I just can't see a path forward on how they get out of that.
Well, I mean, I can, but it's all speculation. It's trades. It's releasing or, buying out guys. I think every week this conversation may ever so slightly change. I mean, is there a Brock
this is Vancouver trade? After all, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think as the trade deadline looms, this conversation can change dramatically. Maybe they're willing to eat. Like I heard today, Sarah Valley was on Sportsnet this morning, and he was saying that the Canucks were willing to retain like $1 million of Besser's salary, and he doesn't have a ridiculous contract. It's just I think everybody's enamored with the idea of what Brock Besser is instead of what he actually is.
Sure, I mean, there's still potential there. Yeah,
there is, but it's. They have the guy in Kuzmenko that's doing all those things. And I mean, we'll be making just a hair under of what Brock's making. So if they're willing to retain $1 million and then all of a sudden a trade becomes available, this is one of those L's we talked about, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they get a 3rd round pick. Okay. That sucks in, the optics of it. Like, man, I can't believe all we got for Brock Besser, a perennial so far 20 goal scorer, is a 3rd round pick. Well, guess what? That's what you got. However, you've now moved off of, we're going to say a liability because it isn't an asset anymore. You've now moved something away, whether you wanted to or not. And that is how this process gets going. And then maybe you have to part off something else that doesn't quite feel good. Maybe you get a 5th or a 4th round pick for, I don't know. And maybe you're eating, maybe you have, like, maybe that other 1st round pick, whether it's this year or next year, is something else to move away a few pieces. It is an extra trade chip that they have, whether you want that to happen or not. If trading away that other 1st round pick from Bo means that the Canucks can get off 2 contracts that are significant, like, I mean, I'm going to say something so stupid, but let's just say somehow in Ryan's crazy world, like there was an OEL and a Myers deal, and maybe it's a 3-way trade, and they get both of those guys off the books, retain maybe a little bit of salary, and they also have to throw in that other 1st round pick. All of a sudden, That's a huge change. Now we're not talking crazy anymore. Now we're saying, okay, there is a plan. They're committed to this. Now they actually have some wiggle room to start slowly building what they're hoping they could build in the first place. So, I mean, it's entirely possible. The NHL in the last couple trade deadlines has been pretty bonkers. And I mean, it is the Canucks, and I think, a lot of us hold all these moves in high regard, but I mean, a little bit of crazy might actually go a long way. So, I mean, anything's possible. We've seen some pretty ridiculous deals happen. It might be the Canucks' turn to actually make one of these moves happen. Like, who knows? Come March 3rd or 7th or whatever it is, maybe we are laughing about this and thinking there's no way they just pulled off the coup of the year. It's entirely possible.
If the Canucks are your average NHL team, just like an average guy,
Nashville, St. Louis,
and the only way to get rid of OEL is to find yourself in a three-way, I'd say that's as likely as a regular guy finding himself in a three-way. So I just don't see how that happens. There's just, I don't know who on earth is going to take that. I mean, it's silly, but like, yeah, I think it's that. I don't know. I don't know how it happens. I think you're looking at 11 players on this roster, all of those guys that I just named. Like, whether they're core or not, the money that they make dictates that they are. So 11 players making $66 million, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Salary cap is 82.5.
Salary cap could change too with the whole Bally thing. You saw that, hey?
I didn't. But that only leaves $16 million, right? $16 million for 11 more players. Like,
that's not pretty.
That's not very much, right? I mean, you're looking at maybe 1.5 per player, and you know that you're going to sign some guys to more than 2.
So Bally's going bankrupt. They missed one of their debt, whatever payments, like $145 million debt payment that they skipped town on. And they're a huge, huge part of the NHL revenue stream.
Oh,
it's going to be like salary cap isn't going to be their biggest problem come the off season. This is with that big TV deal that the NHL has. There's some problems. I think the NHL Board of Governors is having a meeting tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I saw on Twitter today. So
it's not good.
No, so maybe the Canucks. Maybe the Canucks trying to free up some cap space isn't the biggest problem in the NHL.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean? I mean? Super Bowl. We're not going to talk about the game itself. You and I had a little debate about a pair of shoes or boots, if you will. And I showed you these red boots. I didn't actually load up a picture of them. The Astro Boy boots, as everyone in their right mind.
Okay, right. Yeah.
I might try to find a picture of these. And Ted goes on to say that the Mega Man boots are
they look like Mega Man boots, but I get that they're Astro Boy. They're kind of the same. They're kind of the same.
It doesn't work that way. You can't say I get that they are. I showed you a picture of Astro Boy. I showed you another picture.
No. You showed me a picture of a pair of boots.
And then I showed you a picture of Astro Boy. And then
I had already made the Mega Man comment. They're the same boots. What if I'm colorblind?
I don't even care if the boots are white. I don't care if the boots are black or gray. It's the boot. It's the principle of the deal. You're just wrong. That's what it is. I will take this to my grave. You can steal baseballs all you want, but don't you dare steal from Astro Boy.
Shit was overrated.
I mean, I'm not saying the show was great. I'm just saying. If we're gonna go there, they're $350 to look like an idiot. Stupid. I mean, I can look like an idiot for so much less. I mean, I do. I can dress way cheaper than that and look like a moron. So, anyway, check them out. They're kind of neat. Did you see? I posted the other day the speed skating video.
I did. Well, I didn't see the skate. I just saw you in front of the camera.
Oh no,
Like,
there was another video. I'm
chest up. Oh, okay. I don't think I saw that one yet. Probably should just play it.
Well, it's going to be tough to do that. Maybe I can make it work. I'm going to find it. That's fine. We're going to do the whole Sherry screeny thingy. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. My form was great. It was.
Why didn't I not see this?
I don't know. I swear you did. So I'm gonna load this up. I'm gonna make this. Okay. I'm gonna share the screen. Hold up. We're gonna do this. This is gonna be a big deal. Hopefully the sound works too. That would suck. We're gonna do this here. Share. So we're good.
What suit are you wearing?
You can see this now.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Does that work?
Are you in the blue there at the back?
I'm the big wonky dude. So they're teaching crossovers in the middle, and there's big stretch. Oh, almost caught an edge there. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. This is my daughter's friend. She's just started speed skating.
Whoa! Let's cut her fingers off.
Last minute call. So at the end, I'm gonna try. You know how they stick their blade out to try to like get the thing. So I tried doing that and like, I'm gonna stretch. Nope, just about yard sale. So there's me at the back. So anyway,
but you didn't finish live. Could it very easily? But what's that skater, that speed skater from Australia that was like way in last place, and then everybody crashed and he got first?
Australia.
Yeah, Australian speed skater.
I can't remember.
Yeah, we got a speed skating team.
Bunch of kangaroo, mate. So anyway, that was me. My form, amazing, obviously. I felt that I actually did okay by my standards anyway. Like, I'm not saying it was great, but I'm actually surprised that I held up the way I did. I was pretty convinced I was going to absolutely tank on that. I fell one time, and that was really just figuring out how you can turn on a corner with flat blades. Like, no. Yeah.
Stephen Bradbury.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So Australian former short track speed skater, 4-time Olympian. He won a 1,000-meter event in 2002 Winter Olympics after all his opponents were involved in a last corner pileup.
Okay. That wasn't the guy that was holding in the Super Bowl?
No.
Different Bradbury.
Different fella.
No kidding.
Different fella.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
I think it looked good. I should have been able to get out there with you. I'm sorry.
I think there's a chance. I know there is on Family Day on Monday. There is an open skate, and there's a chance. I think I might be able to get out there again. So if you guys think Ted should be speed skating on Family Day, I have to be there because that's part of the club, and we're trying to boost the sport. I have to be there, and I will be there, and it'll be a lot of fun. They might even have the concession open. How ridiculous is this? Capital Center.
Would they have another pair of adult skates?
Oh, there's a few different ones. Yeah, you got smaller feet than I do.
What about another unitard?
We can make that also happen.
A skin suit? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, skin suit.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make it happen. I mean, you've got smaller feet than I do. You're like a 10, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure we could make something happen.
It's average sized.
You tell yourself whatever you need to make yourself feel better. Whatever you need to. Speaking of Brock Besser, which we weren't, but we were a little while ago. Is it weird that we live in a world currently where Luke Shen, whether you believe it personally or not, could fetch a second-round pick, and Brock Besser we may get a third for? Mm-hmm. And this is a reality check thing. Like, what world do we live in where this is entirely possible? Like, does it blow your mind a little bit?
The world we live in is salary cap parity. He just makes so much money. He just makes so much money, and he's even if Brock was delivering at a $3.5 million valuation of what his points were, he'd be worth way more on the trademark. But he makes too much money.
But it's
Like,
not that much money. It's just
it's
that he's
that
not
much money,
living.
$6.65 million. That, I
But
mean,
that's not that crazy, Ted.
Ryan, it's crazy. We were just talking about the fact that OEL makes 7.2. He barely makes more money than Brock Besser.
Okay, so if we're going to take a contract out of the two of them and term, you're saying that
yeah, for sure. Term is way worse on OEL, but I'm just talking about the dollar value. Like OEL's trade is so bad because of term and value that he has negative value. Like, we'd have to give up first round picks to move him. Probably two. Probably two.
That's a little crazy.
I don't think so.
I think it is. That's as crazy as you thinking Luke Shen wasn't worth a second.
I think if you did some homework on this, on what a team has to pay another team to take on a bad contract, it's probably something like $3 million per first rounder. Maybe $4 million per first rounder. So I'm betting maybe we don't have to pay 2 because you're getting some sort of like deal on.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but do you not?
It's a bad contract.
You don't think though? So let's take away. Let's say he's at 5.5 now for Brock.
Okay.
You don't think that there is potential still? And you said it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he goes to a Pittsburgh, for example.
Sure.
You don't think Brock Besser has potential to actually? I'm not saying he's going to go on a tear for the rest of his career and be a 30-plus goal scorer. Maybe he will be. Maybe it's entirely possible. All he needs is just to get whatever weight is off his shoulders and just be able to think and breathe clear again. But you're saying that Brock has that kind of negative value.
No. I'm saying OEL has negative value. I'm saying, like, I'm agreeing with you. I think a third, I think they would be over the moon to get a second for him.
Oh, absolutely. And
I think teams don't want to play for that because, yeah, he could do well, but the risk associated with having to take on a huge contract like that isn't worth more than a third round draft pick.
I just don't think, like, it's huge in the sense that, yeah, that's a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of what all these contracts look like, I don't think it's as ridiculous as it would have been like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like a $5 and $6 million contract for I mean, he's consistent. We have to be honest with that. Like, as points wise, he's consistent. He may not be goals wise, but he's been pretty decent points overall. And he does bring a lot more than maybe we give him credit for sometimes. But you're saying that isn't worth value to any of those other teams just because of $6.5 million. Like, yes,
I'm not saying it's not worth value. Like, but I'm not saying
that's what wingers cost. Like, that's what a scoring winger costs. Right.
So then wouldn't you want to get a scoring winger then? Because this one's not scoring.
He's not scoring here.
Right. So, I mean, you're paying on potential that he might rekindle his rookie season magic.
What about like a Phil Kessel? You don't think that? I mean, there was a time where, like, oh man, Phil Kessel.
Phil Kessel was a significantly better hockey player than Brock Besser.
Yeah,
for a very long period of time. It's not even close.
But before, when he went to Toronto, when he was kind of slumming it, or not slumming it, but where everybody was trying to figure him out, and then he really caught on after that.
What are you asking me?
I'm just saying.
I don't know what you're talking about for Phil Kessel.
I'm just
a team is gonna give up a higher draft pick for a guy who's known for potting 30.
Sure.
Not a guy who gets paid $6.7 million who's flirted with hitting 30 before.
Okay, I think
is injury prone and is injury prone and is signed through for an additional 2 years past this season.
I think
we're talking about, like, these teams have cap space and they have a window to win, and you're going to hitch your wagon. There's one of your favorite terms. You're going to hitch your wagon to a guy who costs
a real bear, if you will,
who costs what a 30-plus goal scorer is worth.
Okay.
But doesn't get you 30 and isn't known for playing full seasons.
Okay.
That's a tough sell. If Brock is putting up what a $6.7 million winger is putting up, if Brock is putting up what Kuzmenko's putting up, then he's significantly higher value. But if Brock is putting up what $6.7 million winger is putting up, like say he's pacing right now at just over a point per game, or more,
Different
then
story.
yeah,
No, I get that.
then I think you get the 7, but it's not. He's not any of those things. So he doesn't even have the track record, Ryan, to
I
be
think
able to
my quip on it,
like
and I think maybe we went down a little bit too far down the road. I think what I was kind of getting at, and we'll dial it back to like the Luke Shen thing, was that Luke Shen, who is league minimum, like aging veteran, doesn't need to really be doing anything. He's got 2 Stanley Cups, and yet his value, and I get that there's a few things in there, but it's not like for a second round pick, he's not even a second pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
Like I just
it's a nice complementary piece. Yeah. Like
that's what I'm just trying to get at. Like a second round pick. We're talking about what it needs to take for Brock Besser to be a second round pick. And we're looking at what all the things that make Luke Shen a second round. And again, not necessarily, but that's been the rumor. It is interesting, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, and again, 2 different positions, one a defensive, it's valued differently. And I know the scale works differently for defensemen, but it's
do the Canucks get a first for JT Miller?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think,
but it's
if
different
anyone wanted
right?
to pick him up, yeah, but you know what JT Miller is going to get you right now. JT Miller could still score in the realm of 90 to 100 points. May not hit that 100, but he's going to, on any team, and maybe not this one, unfortunately. Jeez, what? Like, I hate this team sometimes. But on any team, like if you were to throw JT Miller again, well, let's use Pittsburgh again. Absolutely, he's worth a first round pick. JT Miller would be a huge compliment to that team because he doesn't have to be the guy everyone's relying on, right? It's like, and I really don't want to make this comparison, but like you look at a Marian Hossa didn't have to be the star on any of those teams where he tried to win a cup, but he was a wicked compliment to every single one of those teams. And it was just terrible luck that he didn't win the first 2 times.
Yeah. Like what does Timo Meier make?
I think probably in the ballpark of what Brock's making, because that's kind of the chip everybody's waiting for, right?
Yeah, here, I got it here. Hang on.
Seeing all these red boots.
Timo Meier. So Timo Meier is making $6 million. And he's got 31 goals.
Ugh.
And
there's your answer.
This is probably
Timo Meier gets a second for sure.
Timo Meier's he's not getting a Brock Besser haul, but he's getting
Timo Meier probably goes for a first if he's already at 31 goals.
I would assume that he's getting a first and 2 prospects.
But he's in a different market because of what his production is.
Right. And if Brock's production is where Timo's is, then I don't think it's a question.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Like I said, just crazy that we look at 2 different markets, one for Luke Shen and one for Brock, and how
one was a golden boy and the other was a reclamation project and a former first rounder.
And now
potentially get max value for the old guy and
he could still come back. I mean, he just tells his family, listen, I want to, and maybe like, you know what I mean? Like he strikes me as the kind of guy, I've never met him, but everything we hear, he does strike me as the kind of guy where he'd be willing to be traded and come back anyway. Because maybe Kelowna is his home. And well, it is now. It's not like he was born here. But he can go away for a playoff run, whatever that looks like, whether it's 1, 2, 2.5 months, and talk to your family. You're going to get to see them, obviously, and maybe make a run. You get you help out the team that you're really wanting to help out. You're a team player, like what Burrows did, like what Hansen did, and you come back, and it's all good.
So
he just strikes me as the kind of guy that could happen. It's totally not for everybody. That route doesn't work for everybody. The geographical the bonus of playing in Vancouver, living in Kelowna. I mean, it's a hop, skip, and a jump for a flight or a drive down the Coke or whatever. All of a sudden, he goes on a playoff team. It's really nothing.
Well, and next year, this squad, we just talked about the fact that this is going to be a bad team next year, very, very likely. This team could need Luke Shen again next year.
Yeah. And
Like,
I
it really
think he
could.
knows that. Just like, listen, this is what we want from you next year. If you're cool with it, we'll sign you. And let's talk about numbers and get something realistic. And you go try to win a cup somewhere, hopefully. We get a draft pick out of it. We help build whatever you're going to help build next season. And because this is going to be the last time he's going to get traded. It's not going to happen again. Whatever his next move after that is, he's retiring. Realistically.
I mean, it's likely,
maybe not,
especially if he wins another cup. Like,
maybe he just says, 3 is a lot.
3 is a lot.
I don't want to have to work for something anymore. And
hey, unless he comes back one more year, says one for the pinky.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
It is a strange conundrum. Like, so I just want to, like, what do you think his value is? So people are projecting possible second, likely third. What's Luke Schenn's value if he's a left-handed defenseman?
What is he?
He's a righty.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think a right side defenseman is that's one more green check mark. You know what I mean?
The fact that he's a righty makes him more value because it's just there's less of them available. But like, what happens if he's a lefty? Is he worth like a fourth? Is he even coveted at all? Like, that kind of adds to the allure of Luke Schenn, right? The fact that he is a right-handed defenseman. Those things don't grow on trees. They're not ones with playoff experiences, ones that can play aside a good offensive defenseman. Like, he's done a little bit of everything for this team, it seems like. And the fact that he's a righty, a right shot D-man, it makes me wonder if you could even get something like a 5th or a 6th round draft pick for a guy like Kyle Burrows, who is basically just a spare part in the squad, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's entirely possible too. I would take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, for a 5th round pick, like, those are absolute darts, right? Like, you are throwing a dart into the abyss and hoping something remotely happens. And it does.
Yeah.
Probably
like
more than it used to.
5th rounder.
Yeah, more than it used to, I'm sure.
Silo started last night.
He did, actually.
6th rounder.
I mean, goaltenders, and those are tough to hit on too. I mean, that's pretty wild that now he's probably the guy that we're going to be talking about as the backup, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And not Martin, who they signed to be the backup. Welcome to Vancouver. We're going to be really, really high on you until we're not. And then we're going to put you through waivers, and eventually Calgary is going to get you 6 years from now. Which is a wild story in itself, and we're the wrong show for that. But holy, how bad is that in Calgary? Like, we talked about the Leafs, was it last week? And now, I mean, looking at, someone was saying like Huberdeau and Besser the same amount of goals or something? Yikes. Yeah. That's like, moment of silence, please. Yeah, going back to Martin and Seelovs, I mean, Seelovs looked okay. I mean, that I only caught, I think, the very ending of the second and then the third, but it looks like he held his own. I mean, nothing's going to look pretty right now with this team.
Yeah, I mean, he's very clearly an extremely athletic goaltender.
Like, they're not looking for wins. I mean, they're hoping for wins, but they're not looking for them.
No, that's like that's an Ian Clark thing, right? I mean, he was the guy that was banging the drum for him to get in last year.
But it wasn't DiPietro.
No, it was way different. It's not the same at all, right? Like, I don't even think, I'm pretty sure that DiPietro didn't have any NHL experience at that time. I think he had some cups of coffee with the men's national team and stuff like that. Yeah. And
fish out of water, though.
Yeah, that was the ownership group completely screwing themselves in goaltender depth and how they managed it. Throwing essentially a Western leaguer or OHL goaltender to the Wolves. This was not that. I think I saw a bunch of that going around on Twitter last night. It's just not a non-comparable.
Too bad he didn't play for the Sudbury Wolves, because that would have been a great little comment.
Yeah. But this guy, I mean, Steelos has had Spitfires. He's had a ton of experience already in the AHL. He's having a really solid season. I mean, he's played a lot with, I think it was it Latvia's national team? Like, this guy has experience playing against men.
Yeah.
So this was not the same thing. Was he ready to make this start? Like, I don't know. But yeah, there's probably a couple of things afoot there. Like, there's there's probably the idea that they wanted to reward a prospect for having a quality season where there hasn't been a ton of bright lights in this goaltending depth in Vancouver. There's probably, a little bit of punishment that gets doled out to Martin and Delia for being so bad. I mean, this team has been really bad, but they have not been any better, right? So, I mean, if it's that bad, why don't you see what you have in the youngster? And then maybe part of it was like, hey, it's just that. Let's see what we have in this, right?
Yeah.
Like, can we catch lightning in a bottle? That's happened many times before. Maybe it's them wanting to like assess their depth. If a certain Thatcher Demko gets traded, like, I don't think Vancouver's going to want to make this trade for Demko if it ever was to happen, unless there was some form of depth or a backup plan in place somewhat.
Then you got to restart. You got to restart the whole process in the net if you don't have anything.
Yeah, and this team has been blessed with phenomenal goaltending ever since the Luongo era started. Right, like it's been a long time since we've had bad goaltending.
You know what? I mean, even before that, I think I've said this before, as bad as some of the stuff that Kluche did, he wasn't that terrible. It ended poorly, but I mean, they still had a couple pretty good playoff. I mean, if we want to call it whatever it is, but I mean, they still had the playoff runs. He was the goaltender for the West Coast Express years.
On those teams, you just needed a guy to be good enough, and I don't know if he was good enough to take us. I mean,
he stole the odd game. I think any good NHL goaltender can steal a game.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. That was, I mean, you could probably even count that. But we went from, we had Luongo and Schneider and Lack was good, and then we moved into to some really good years from Markstrom and Ryan Miller. Like, this team has been right to Thatcher Demko. Like, this has been a very good goaltending team for a long time. So you can't just turn anybody into like a solid starter. And I know that Ian Clark works magic, but I don't know what the plan is if Thatcher Demko goes. Like, they're going to have to sign a free agent from somewhere, which
there's no Shesterkin, there's no Sorokin, like there's Georgiev. There's none of those guys just sitting waiting to be plucked.
Or maybe there is. I don't know, but it's not going to be somebody that's in the NHL currently, I wouldn't think, right? And then are you going to have to? There's just no succession plan, I think, is the thing, right? And I don't think that Silos is that yet either. But he's only 21, so there's lots of time for him. But this was probably just some of a little bit of all of those things, right? What do you got in Silos? Let's reward him. Let's punish the team a little bit for leaving their goaltenders out to dry. Let's show the current starters that, hey, if you guys are going to play with somebody else is going to play here, like, I think it's all of those things just waiting for Demko to come back, right? So it was kind of a fun thing to see. I mean, yeah, I don't think he got annihilated. I think there's maybe one or two he'd like to have back, but for the most part, there was just a lot of deflections and some weird shit happening, right?
I mean, they had to pull the goalie because it was close.
Mm-hmm.
It was close enough. It wasn't a blowout. That game somehow got way closer than it should have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was thinking that too. I'm like, well, I mean, this isn't a blowout. And there was probably a thought that went through everybody's head towards the end of the game thinking, are they actually going to force overtime somehow? Are they going to get a bonus point and really, throw a new wrench into the tank for Bedard? I think
you were kind of just hoping not, right?
And then it played itself out like all good things do. And they lost, and we're all okay with that, which is so weird to say. So weird to say. It wouldn't be a PP1 podcast episode without an update on Andrew Crystal. He is officially back. He was off for almost 6 weeks, and when you're off for that long, you probably have a lot of thinking, a lot of downtime, even though you're training and in the gym. But when you get back, just like, when you get back, Ted, I mean, once you have your surgery and everything and do a full rehab, like you've talked about before, like the gym and like just getting back to like being active, being busy. Like your first at bat, I feel bad for the baseball. I feel bad for everyone that's in the field because you're going to want to absolutely annihilate a baseball the same way that Andrew Crystal did last night. He put up 4 goals on his first game back, and 2 of them were I did an article on Cryer there, and 2 of them were just stupid. It's if there's an opportunity for the Canucks to go after him and that defenseman isn't there, or I mean, I would hope they have multiple first rounds for this to be a kind of scenario, because you shouldn't be going after a winger if there's a few other players available. He's having himself a season though, and I don't know if it's just another showing of like a Cole Lind, and we're going to be teased into thinking that
I don't think so. It's not Cole Lind. He's
you know what
much
I mean?
younger than Cole Lind, but yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Well, obviously he is much younger than Cole Lind, but you know what I mean? The
yes.
promise of that type of player. I mean, again, he's flirting with, and I don't think he's going to hit top 5. That's some pretty prestigious territory. But I mean, if he is on a list still and he's in the top 10 or top 7, wow. I mean, that's a season. That's tough to do. And especially in this draft where there is a lot of talent, if he's still chasing after that, being in a top 10 position, I mean, you have to take notice of that. You just have to.
So. Yeah. I mean, I think he's obviously exciting. We went to a couple of Rockets games and he wasn't there, and then he comes back and pots 4. Now I'm going to have to go to another Rockets game. Like he's that good. He's tearing apart the league right now. Him and a certain other player. But he really is exciting. Like, it definitely follows the puck follows him around. Like there's been a bunch of sort of smaller Western leaguers that have come up in the last little while. Stankoven's one of them that have just really gotten it done over the last little bit. So it'll be exciting to see where first of all, it'll be exciting to see where he finishes. I think if he'd kept his torrid pace and not got hurt, he'd probably be a shoe-in top 10. So it's going to be a fight for him to get there. I'm pulling for him. It's exciting for sure. He might be the best forward to come out of Kelowna in a very long time.
I agree. Definitely not the first one. We've already had that conversation. It's good times. Yeah, it's a lot of. I mean, it's a lot of fun. If you're in a market, I mean, we're pretty fortunate to have what we've got with the Rockets and everything that's going on there. But when you get to see these guys play, and we call it for free because, I mean, it costs you nothing to get in the door. When you get to see these guys do what they're doing, I mean, for all the people that get an opportunity to see Bedard play, I mean, this is the year that he's doing some crazy stuff. Or you go and see Stankoven. I mean, every time he would come to Kelowna, you had to pay attention. Or when we would see back in the day Brent Seabrook, or when we had Shea Weber, or when there was like there have been a lot of guys that have come through here that either as an opponent or Hunter Shinkaruk was a great example. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, he was.
That's actually a really good comparison because Shinkaruk was an amazing WHLer, right? I mean, the smaller guy.
I don't think he had the same flair, though. I don't think he was at. He was up there. He was up there.
Freaking good. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's recency bias, but you're right. He was. I would definitely made sure I tried seeing him in the lineup. I think he was injured when he came through with Medicine Hat. So anyway, great on Crystal. We're still working on trying to get that little interview with him, and I'm sure it'll come soon enough. Ted, we're going to a long weekend. We've both earned it. I'm assuming you have anyway. I know I've earned it. And all I can think about is like the Canucks versus Flyers this weekend. It's going to be the pinnacle of my week. No, I'm just kidding. It's really not. It's really not. Any big plans for yourself? Doing anything fun? Skiing?
I am stoked because we made a ratio donut order last night.
Tomorrow. So for tomorrow.
Yeah. So for tomorrow, we're picking up ratio donuts in Vernon.
Oh, man.
I got myself a Brian Martin, which I believe is like a maple bourbon barrel bacon donut.
I think I've had that one because I just said, yeah, I didn't know enough about it. I'm like, well, it looks like I need to get that one. Yeah, it's a good one for sure.
Yeah. So stoked about that.
Good for you. Yeah. We might do, so there's a 350 bakery down on Bernard there. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
So they are like the low key version of the same thing of ratio.
Okay.
So we try to go there, like we try every Saturday anyway, and get like our family 6 donuts. Kinsey, our youngest, she's gluten-free, so she gets her macaroons and whatever. But their donuts are just as lethal because they do the maple bacon. They've got an espresso espresso, covered whatever. And then they've got the two like salted caramel fritter, regular apple fritter. They've got some pretty messed up stuff there. So it's by Mad Mangoes. It's pretty close.
I'll have to check it out next time.
It's pretty cool.
There's another one like down by the airport. Something donkey. I can't remember.
Yeah, they're new. They're new. Yeah. So yeah, support your local bakery, because who doesn't love donuts and pastries? Who doesn't love them? They're great. I think that's it, man. I think that's it. This has been a good one. I've been waiting to talk to you face to face via the internet. And I quite enjoyed our time together. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, as always.
And we didn't argue once.
Mm-hmm.
No one raised their voice. We didn't disagree at all. It was great. So make sure you follow us on our socials. We're not going to get through them. If it's a social media account, we have one. We don't have a TikTok, so I guess that's the only one. But make sure you go check us out on Crier. We're going to have some content going throughout the week. And things are growing here. We got some special surprises coming very, 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 very soon. And maybe we'll have wouldn't that be cool if we had like our own beer? We don't, but wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool.
That just feels like something that it would be cool to have. Maybe we can work with maybe Copper Brewing. Maybe they want to partner with us. They do stuff like that. I think we can make that happen. PP1 Podcast Pilsner. The P Pilsner one.
It doesn't sound bad.
It doesn't quite ring. I'm gonna have to work with some people on that one. So, on behalf of Ted, I am Ryan. This is the PP1 Podcast. Two good-looking dudes talking hockey, talking about red boots. Have a wonderful evening. Have a great long weekend. Go Canucks, go.